wanting to get into idea of New Year's resolutions. It's that time of year where we have great expectations and perhaps a bit more motivation, but we need to be mindful that motivation is incredibly short-lived. So I want us to really appreciate the neurobiology behind actual habits. I want us to understand the behavioural psychology behind habits. And I want us to reward ourselves and explore reward systems. And through this, we're going to get a framework for cultivating good habits. So 72% of Australians, almost 14 million people, will have set at least one New Year's resolution. Women are slightly more likely to do that than men. And New Year's resolutions are also most popular in younger generations. So we've got that enthusiasm and we've got that optimism. Yet just 8% of people actually keep with their resolutions. And sometimes that's because of setting unrealistic goals. And most are abandoned after a bit of failure. So throwing baby out with the bathwater, really. And according to global research, January the 12th is the date you are most likely to break or falter from your resolution. So before the 12th of January, I want us to explore habits and how can we stop ourselves from faltering. So habits are formed in the brain. It's a particular kind of memory that forms, and it's in the striatum. So the striatum drives behaviour like a reflex reaction, making it hard to stop once a habit is formed. So it's how do we get this good habit, or how do we break this bad habit? So let's look at the varying aspects of the brain involved. We've got the frontal cortex, that's the decision centre. We've got the striatum, and that's a dopamine-rich region of the brain, and that turns habits into reflexes. Once you've done something several times, it reduces the need for you to think about it, and therefore it becomes a bit more of a reflex. That's where we want to get with our good habits. But that's also where we want to get noticing our bad habits. Now, the substantia nigra, this feeds the frontal cortex and the striatum along our dopamine pathways. The dopamine is, if you remember, a pleasure-sensing chemical that drives the brain's reward pathways. Helps condition people to a variety of habits. More often than not, it is a reward for unhealthy habits, overeating, alcohol, drugs. But we can use that dopamine and we can harness that dopamine for good. So in summary, if the cortex is thinking about doing something, the striatum can enable it, making it a reflex, or it can choose to stop it. Again, let's just mention dopamine. That's the natural precursor of epinephrine. It increases energy. It increases enjoyment. It is an anticipatory neurotransmitter. It makes you crave. So dopamine is mostly released in anticipation. You get excited. It increases activity in the reward pathway. For a very short period of time, will increase our motivation. It will produce wanting and it will produce craving. It's an important chemical messenger in our brain that has many, many functions. It is involved even in our memory, our attention, and our regulation. When dopamine is released in large amounts, it creates feelings of pleasure and reward, which motivate you to repeat that behaviour to get the same reward. Now, in contrast, when we have low levels of dopamine, that's linked to reduced motivation, decreased enthusiasm. And dopamine levels are typically well regulated within the nervous system, but there are things that we can do to naturally increase these levels. So in response to triggers, our body will increase dopamine. For example, food increases dopamine by 50%. Sex increases dopamine by 100%. Nicotine increases dopamine by 150%. And actually, gaming and scrolling on our mobile devices increases our dopamine by more than 150%. But to look at it from a real addictive lens, cocaine increases dopamine by 1,000%. So you can see why that would become very addictive. So dopamine contributes to the establishment of neuroplastic changes that mediate behaviour adaptations to relevant environmental stimuli. So release of dopamine decreases with repeated exposure to the same stimulus. So we have to adapt and in fact do more of what it is to increase the dopamine that we want. So once a behaviour response to a stimulus has been established, the familiar stimulus elicits the behaviour via these interactions we've talked about in the limbic cortex, the thalamus, and the basal ganglia. There's less then involvement by the mesocortical limbic dopamine transmission systems. So that's where we become an established habit follower. So that's dopamine. But habits then become our shortcuts to make life more efficient. So when we get a response from food, and even on, if we look at it in terms of evolution, the things that were rewarding for longevity, that were rewarding for survival, food, sex, warmth, these are all things that we shortcutted towards in evolutionary pathways. So habits are our shortcuts, and we've got to make the things that we want to do, our good habits, shortcuts. So a stage of a habit is you have a cue, you have a craving, you have a response, and then you have a reward. So the cue and the craving, that's your problem phase. This is where, for example, if we're looking at a bad habit, checking your phone. So the cue might be your phone buzzing, or it might be you're bored at work, your dopamine's low, you're seeking a distraction, you're seeking a little bit of dopamine, a little bit of satisfaction and reward. So we're craving something that we know gives us that. Phone buzzes, we know that, subconsciously we know that if we pick up our phone and we scroll, we'll get a little bit of dopamine. So we check the phone, we fall into a loop of social media, we start scrolling, we see a message from a friend, it's funny, we like it, we get a dopamine hit. And that's a response and the reward, the solution phase. So creating good habits means the first law, we find a cue and we make it obvious. Second step, we have the craving. We have to make it attractive. We want to want it. The third step, the third law, is a response. So we've got to make it easy. And the fourth the fourth step is the reward, making it satisfying. So a new system would make good habits easy. So if you, for example, want to have good sleep hygiene and you know that the phone being by your bed is bad for it, look at that habit and think to yourself, right, I want to have a really good sleep tonight, but I know the things that get in my way. I need to remove those things. So my good habits are my sleep hygiene. My sleep hygiene is turning off all my phones and being disconnected. So you put your phones outside of your bedroom, and that is out of earshot, out of eyesight, and that is removing a cue. So putting a cue in place for a good habit would be, all right, so I know that when 10:30 hits, that's my bedtime. So I have a 10:30 bedtime, and at 10:30 I have a chime that goes off in my kitchen. Now straight away that won't necessarily act as a cue, but over time, developing the habit, it will. So the chime goes off. When the chime goes off, I go into my bedroom, which is already set up for success. It is cool. It is dark. It is calm. There is no distractions. And I put my solution into practice. So I lie down and I do a ritual, and something that I enjoy. So I lie down and I do a body scan of toes to head, contracting and relaxing all of my muscles. When I do this, at the same time, I allow myself to have a daydream, a nice moment of manifesting a good next day. I enjoy this. I find it relaxing after the first, second time that I'm doing it. It is satisfying and rewarding. But I underpin it that when I wake in the morning, I am grateful and I thank myself for that early bed, that good routine. Now, over time, hearing that chime, that 10:30 chime for bed, that will be my cue. I will be tired and ready to relax, and I will crave lying down in my bed. It is easy. There's no chore involved in it. The response will be to lie down and do my body scanning from toe to head. The reward is a deep sleep. It's satisfying. And the next morning, I will show gratitude for that. So these are the steps that we go through for making good habits. It's got to be mindful, obvious, attractive, easy, and it's got to be satisfying. There's a reward to it. So say we take going to the gym. The cue has got to be obvious. So maybe you want to be going to the gym every Monday morning. Now, Monday mornings aren't easy at the best of times. Going to the gym would make it harder. However, the cue is you have your trainers and your gym kit ready. You make it attractive. What else can I add into this? A lot of the time it is a social connection, something else that's going to give you a hit of dopamine. So going with a friend, accountability. Making it easy, having a plan in place. I go to this gym at this time. I do a run at this time on this route. Making it easy, making no decisions left to the last minute. The third step of that response, making it easy, is about removing any opportunity for your decision-making circuits, for your frontal cortex decision center to have to wrangle with a should I, shouldn't I. Remove the should I, shouldn't I. So you have the plan in place, you have the accountability and the removal of the decision as to whether or not you need to do something. And then make it satisfying. What is your reward for going to the gym? You will get a dopamine hit, you'll get a reward of completion, but maybe it's the laugh that you have with your friend during a class. Maybe it's the leaning into that social connection that you have with that other person. Maybe it's a lovely coffee in the cafe afterwards. Making it satisfying is where you get your benchmark. But also that fourth law, that fourth step, the reward, is important to really lean into elements of gratitude. And I know it sounds corny, but leaning in and being grateful for that moment when you have achieved something helps the habits stick. Now let's talk about bad habits. Whew. So when you're kicking a bad habit, you've got to remove the cue, make it invisible. So that first step is your cue, second step craving, third step response, fourth step reward. If we go back to that, first step, cue, make it invisible. So if it's your phone scrolling at nighttime, take your phone out of the room that you're spending time in. It is removed. Make it unattractive. So make it harder to get to. Remove the apps on your phone that cause you to gravitate towards scrolling. Make it unattractive insofar as associate a bad craving with a bad outcome. So if it's the scrolling on your phone, you need to get the mantra of, I'm going to scroll on my phone and it's going to waste my time. It's a time thief. And repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So when you get the buzz of your phone, that phone's outside of the room, but you hear a buzz, you still get a cue. The craving is, I should go and check that. Then you've got to make the mantra of, if I scroll on my phone, I'm going to lose my time. My time is being stolen. I don't have enough time. I will not allow that to happen. Make it difficult. The phone is outside of the room. It's difficult to get to. The apps have been removed. Make it unsatisfying. Look at your screen time. Plan what your screen time is going to be. If your screen time is greater than your agreed plan, so you may agree to 2 hours of screen time per day. If your screen time goes beyond that, you have to turn your phone off and remove it from the room for the evening. There has to be an accountability. Tell others that you are doing this. So let's look at how we can really create good habits or kick bad ones. So let's look at cues. A cue is really just a plan, and you've got a plan set by habits. So when you get a cue, that's your first tick to either do something or choose not to. So a cue will normally be the kickstarter that doesn't require motivation, but it kicks you into the next phase, the craving. We need to then actually acknowledge that we're having a craving, whether it be for something good and then really reward yourselves, whether it be for something bad, alcohol, smoking, scrolling, junk food. When we get that craving, we need to acknowledge it. So make a plan for when you get the craving. So if it's a good craving, so if you're like, get the cue, I see my gym kit, I'm going to go to the gym, my plan is in place. I know the route to the gym, I know the route that I run, I know how I'm going to get there. It's automatic. Say your cue is a cigarette and your bad habit is smoking. The cue is any act that you do that would normally follow a cigarette. So for a lot of people, that is, say, finishing a meal. So you finish a meal and you have a cue at that point for, this is normally where I go and have a cigarette. And then you have the craving. I really want a cigarette. We have to stop at that point and acknowledge the craving. But we have a plan in place. So, yep. Oh, that's it. I want a cigarette. I've got a plan in place. I would normally go and grab my cigarettes. I've removed them. There is no cigarettes in the house. So then the plan is, what's your alternative? I would normally finish my meal and have a cigarette. Your plan now is you finish a meal and you go for a walk. 2 bonuses here. You're doing something alternative to smoking, but also walking after a meal has been shown to improve your metabolic profile. So you've got a real positive. Finish my meal, I'll get up and I'll walk around the block with the dog. I'll have a walk around the block with my wife. So just having a plan in place, having an automation in place is what is required. We also talk about habit stacking. So we insert new behaviours into a current one. So if you want to read more, when you make your bed, add a book to the pillow. So when you go to bed at night, your pillow has a book on it ready to read. You want to eat healthy. You're going to make dinner every night, but you are going to front end it with vegetables. And the habit will be putting vegetables on your plate before you serve any other item on your plate. So it's about taking what you're already doing and adding something good into it. I am particularly bad at taking my regular medication. I'm always forgetting it. Put your medication by your toothbrush. If you are someone who brushes their teeth every morning or every evening, you will have a visual reminder, a cue. Motivation itself is overrated. Your environment matters more. If you want to drink more water through the day, you've got to have a water bottle. in your environment. And you've got to have it in your line of sight. We know that people with the best self-control are the ones who have to use it the least. So if you worry about self-control around junk food, don't have junk food at home. If you don't want to spend lots of money on new gadgets, stop reading reviews and stop shopping online, because the dopamine hit you're getting when you shop online is the exact reward that you are craving. Be mindful about what you're doing. All your actions have consequences, and they have rewards, and they have feedback mechanisms. So the common things I see are junk food, smoking, alcohol, shopping, gambling. These are our bad habits. So look at junk food. Look at your environment. No junk food in your environment. Do not stop at junk food outlets ever. If you don't want to buy junk food, go to a different supermarket where you don't know which aisles store the junk food. Do something that breaks the habit where you would walk through your normal grocery store and pick up junk food. Alcohol. Don't have alcohol in the house. If you want to stop drinking, don't have alcohol in the house, and don't attend establishments where there is alcohol sold. Sounds easier than it is. In reality, society has normalised alcohol. It's everywhere. Society has normalised junk food. It is everywhere. We need to acknowledge and cognitively call out bad habits that have been normalised by society. Online shopping, big one. Remove shopping links. Remove the social media apps that pull you towards shopping. All right. Cues, triggers, linchpins. To strengthen habits, for every good habit, there are decisive moments. Make the decision easy. Tie it to a linchpin. Like we said, brushing your teeth. This is also referred to as a system. So if you need a system in place to strengthen your habits for taking your medication, have your medication next to your toothbrush, a habit that is ingrained. If you have a coffee every morning, have your medication next to your coffee. Add a reward, such as watching your favourite TV show whilst on the treadmill. Use cues and triggers. If you decide to start your day with a glass of water, use a cue. A note on the kitchen table that you'll see when you wake up. Remind yourself, have notes, have cues. To develop a habit, it must be executed every day. Then a cue won't be necessary. So if your habit is to exercise more, you must at least go through the motion of putting on your trainers, putting on your gym kit and going for a bit of a walk every day. It might be that 3 of those days are good runs or 3 of those days are getting to the gym. But in order for exercise to become a normal part of your week, it's got to be executed daily. Environment. Motivation is overrated. The environment matters more. Remember, you will see something that will give you a cue. You will hear something that will give you a cue. You will smell things that give you a cue. Your craving, your response, your reward will follow. Make your cues for good habits obvious. This is all about environment. You want to eat healthy? Sort out your fridge. Have delicious, healthy food available. Craving, make it attractive, make you want it. Well-presented fruit, well-presented veggies look appetizing. Response, make it easy, make things convenient. Why is junk food so easy? Because it's convenient. Make your new decision accessible. Make going to the gym easy because you know how to get there. You've made a decision. It's a close by environment. Making eating good food easy by having it available to you. And reward yourself. Congratulate yourself. Dopamine feedbacks from an unbroken chain of tricks on the calendar. Look, your body will respond to this feel-good mechanism that you get when you do well. Congratulate yourself and have an episode of gratitude every time you do something well. Stack your habits, have systems, have strong cues, remove negatives from your environment. So let's go through that one last time. Creating good habits, make your cue obvious. Crave it because it is attractive. Make your new habit attractive. The response is it's got to be easy. So remove hurdles, put enablers in place. And reward, make it satisfying. Congratulate yourself and show gratitude. Kicking bad habits, cue, remove them, make it invisible. Take things out of your environments that would normally cue you to bad habits. Cravings, make things unattractive. That might be visualizing negative outputs. So smoking, for example, you might visualize the damage it's doing to your lungs, the damage it's doing to your skin. Response, make it difficult. Don't have smoking paraphernalia. Don't have lighters. Don't have cigarettes. Tell people around you that you're stopping so that others put barriers in your way and question you and keep you accountable. Make it unsatisfying. When you have to make great efforts to do a bad habit, it is less satisfying. Good luck. Break the bad habits and absolutely impose and celebrate the good.